The old log cabin stood in the tall grass. It had a dark gray roof and a green door. This was how it looked before the work started. He started the project by climbing up a silver ladder. The ladder leaned against the side of the old cabin. He needed to get onto the dark gray corrugated roof. Next, he pulled a large blue tarp over the frame. This protected the interior while the roof was open. The old roof panels were gone, leaving rafters exposed. A red roofed house was visible through the trees. He used a metal chisel to scrape off old debris. The dark wooden beams were covered in wood shavings. He cleaned the surface near the metal gutter. Then he used an orange ratchet strap on a plank. He took a screw from the climber's box. He used his Makita drill to secure a metal clamp. Wood shavings were scattered across the dark roof surface. He continued drilling near some silver metal flashing. A stack of red roof tiles sat on the grass. He moved to the corner of the log cabin. There, he used the chisel to shape a wooden beam. He worked on the joint near the blue tarp. Finally, he set up his Makita miter saw. The saw blade cut through a large wooden beam. Dust and wood chips flew out from the machine. He finished the cut over the green grass. Next, he started working on the porch frame construction. New reddish-brown beams were installed next to the cabin wall. A man in a green cap knelt on the surface. He used a green canister to spray foam into gaps. He smoothed the sealant with his fingers to make it even. Wood shavings were scattered on the ground near a tarp. He picked up a hammer to secure a silver L bracket. He nailed it into the side of a wooden post. A plastic container of nails sat nearby on the grass. He used a best ladder to reach higher sections. Then he used a Makita drill for the task. He screwed a metal hook into the thick wooden beam. An orange strap was attached to the metal hook. The porch frame was starting to take its final shape. The man in the black t-shirt and green cap starts. He lifts a long wooden beam toward the housetop. The bright blue sky is clear as he moves timber. He uses a temporary wooden pole for support now. This keeps the new reddish-brown frame steady and still. A blue tarp covers the old house structure below him. Next, he begins nailing the first rafter into position. He stands on the wooden frame and hammers nails in. He moves his ladder to check the wood alignment. He holds a yellow spirit level against the rafter. He makes sure everything is level before moving on. He adjusts another wooden beam near the roof center. Metal L brackets are already attached to the frame. He kneels down on a large sheet of OSB board. He uses his Makita drill to secure the board. He drives several screws into the wood right now. He leans his yellow spirit level against the wall. Then he reaches out to adjust to new rafter. The reddish-brown rafters stand out against the old wood. From this height, you can see the green trees. He heads down to his workbench for metal parts. He uses an angle grinder to cut a metal rod. Blue boxes labeled Fortis sit next to his tools. He takes the parts up and hammers a bracket. He nails the bracket over yellow membrane layer. The OSB board sits below where he works. Finally, the full structure of the roof is visible. He works on the right side near the scaffolding. The old log cabin has a strong wooden frame. He continues to secure the last few wooden roof beams. Next, the focus shifts to the roof. A man in a black t-shirt and brown pants begins the work. He rolls out a long layer of black roofing membrane. He pulls the material tight over the new wooden rafters. This black layer will help keep the old wooden house dry. The metal scaffolding stands steady against the side of the building. Under the overcast sky, he covers more of the roof surface. He works around the green trees that surround the site. After the membrane is secure, the next task begins. He puts on a blue t-shirt and a green cap. Now he starts carrying heavy stacks of red roof tiles. He climbs the ladder to reach the new roof battens. He places the stacks of tiles onto the wooden strips. In a close-up, His hands position each red tile. The black membrane has the word compromise printed on it. He aligns the red tiles near the brown metal edge. Finally, he uses a drill to screw the red tiles down. He works his way across the roof, one tile at a time. This makes sure the roof stays in place against the wind. Next, he moves inside the cabin to start sealing the interior. He kneels on the concrete floor in his gray t-shirt. He uses a green canister to spray foam into a cutout. This helps keep the drafts out of the house. Then he starts working on the brick facade. He wears a headlamp to see the brick wall. He places the thin bricks using small plastic spacers. To the left is the original wooden log wall. He moves to a concrete structure near the floor. He sets a round silver metal cover into place. After that, he picks up a black caulk gun. He fills the gaps between the bricks with sealant. Wood shavings cover the floor from his earlier work. Now he goes back up onto the roof. He wears a green cap and cuts thick insulation. He fits the material between the wooden battens. A teal Makita drill sits on the black membrane. The brick chimney now has a shiny silver cap. This protects the flue from the wind and rain. He puts on a green jacket as it turns overcast. He works along the edge of the tiled roof. He installs a new white fascia board. The house is starting to look much more finished. The builder started working on the inside of the walls. He knelt on the floor to install a black membrane. This layer went directly against the wooden log surface. He pressed the material against the gray concrete base. Next, he picked up a brush and a container of coating. He applied a protective layer to the concrete foundation edge. There was a stack of white boards in the background. He moved his brush along the small wooden planks. He painted the wood while working inside the cabin. He made several vertical cuts into the surface of a log. Small wood shavings fell onto the floor as he worked. He used an orange oscillating multi-tool on the ceiling. The blade cut through the wood near the wall top. He needed to make room for the next wall frame. The builder wore a green cap and used a power drill. He made a hole in the wooden ceiling near rafters. A black membrane was visible through gaps in the roof. He knelt on the floor to secure a wooden plank. He used a metal clamp to hold the wooden piece. Orange straps lay nearby on the dark wooden floorboards. He applied a dark brown stain to the log walls. The brush spread the liquid across the horizontal logs. Then, he moved on to the interior insulation face. He fitted insulation material between two vertical wooden beams. A spirit level and gray block sat on the table. Finally, he slid a pink insulation board into the frame. He made sure it fit against the solid log wall. The spirit level helped him keep the vertical beam straight. Inside the house, work began on the interior walls. The man in the green cap started with the drywall. He lifted a large pink panel against the wooden frame. He used a silver level to make sure it was straight. He pressed the pink board against the wall studs. He reached up to secure the top edge near the ceiling. On the lower section, he worked with red bricks. He used an orange-handled trowel to spread mortar. Before the windows went in, he cleaned the area. He used a long black vacuum hose to suck up dust. He prepared the openings for the white window frames. He used Pinosil window foam to seal the gaps. The room changed once the white windows were installed. Bright daylight came through the glass onto the OSB floor. Next, he started working on the slope ceiling. He held a white drywall panel against the wooden planks. He used a power tool to screw the boards in. These plastomet panels were secured to the ceiling beams. He worked around the white electrical conduits and beams. Each screw was driven flush into the white surface. By the end of the day, the ceiling was covered. A wooden beam ran across the new white drywall. The next phase focused on the floors and walls. A man in a green cap knelt on the OSB panels. He spread gray fibrous insulation between the wooden floor joists. This material would help keep the heat inside the house. Next, he used a long black hose to blow more insulation. He filled the empty cavities under the floorboards with the material. The brand on the insulation was Knauf. The room started to look finished with the white drywall. He worked near a window covered in protective plastic. Part of the original log wall was visible on the right. He used a Makita drill to make a circular hole. This was for a red electrical box in the drywall. The drill had a blue hole saw attachment on the end. Then he moved his attention to the sloped ceiling. He applied green adhesive tape to the reflective insulation layer. He pressed the tape down firmly to seal the seams. A light blue wall nearby had an orange electrical box. Two red pipes stuck out from the bottom of the wall. The work moved outside to the roof for a while. He installed a roll of Coratop roofing underlayment. He pulled the breathable material across the wooden roof overhang. The green trees and blue sky were clear behind him. Back inside, he worked on the large windows. He applied yellow adhesive tape around the white window frame. He used Pinosil window foam to fill in the gaps. Outside the window, you could see a red-roofed building. He picked up the Makita drill again. He cut another large hole into a white drywall panel. Next, he started the work of applying joint compound. He wore a black tank top and used a trowel. He smoothed the compound over the seams on the ceiling. Then he switched to a long-handled roller. He covered the sloped ceiling with a layer of mud. The ceiling showed many white patches from the screw points. He carried a yellow paint bucket across the room. He attached a roller to a lawn extension pole. He began rolling white paint onto the sloped drywall. Electrical wires hung down from holes in the ceiling. He knelt on the floor to paint the corner wall. He used a small roller for the tight spaces. A white paint bucket sat on the OSB floor panels. He went back to the extension pole for high spots. He painted the white ceiling around a wooden beam. The Plastomet windows looked bright against the new paint. Now it is time to move outside the log house. He needs to work on the foundation to keep moisture out. He wears a green cap and a plaid shirt today. He uses a small orange and black shovel to dig. He digs a trench right along the concrete base. Then he applies a dark waterproofing compound with a brush. He covers the concrete surface to create a moisture barrier. Next, he picks up a white insulation board. He uses a red and black Pinosil foam gun here. He sprays the foam onto the back of the board. Then he presses the board against the foundation wall. He changes into a gray cap and black t-shirt. He mixes some mortar in a large black bucket. He uses a notch trowel to spread the mortar. He makes sure the adhesive has a rid texture. Next, he takes a roll of white mesh reinforcement. He embeds the mesh into the fresh mortar. This helps strengthen the surface, the foundation. He paints more dark waterproofing on the top edge. He uses a small brush to get it just right. Nearby, he paints a wooden post with black paint. Finally, he staples a white pipe conduit to the wall. It sits just above the new light gray finish. Interior work begins in the bathroom area. He starts with the plumbing layout on the concrete floor. He kneels by the brickwork with a bucket of mortar. Next, he picks up the gray PVC plumbing pipes. He looks at a Y connector to make sure it fits. The pipes go into a narrow trench in the slab. He lies on his stomach to reach into the floor. Wearing a green cap, he connects the drain lines. He lifts a black bucket to check the floor drain. Once the pipes are set, he starts the waterproofing. He uses a small roller to apply a blue liquid. He paints the liquid along the corner of the wall. He uses WeberTech Superflex tape to seal the joints. This blue coating prevents water from leaking into the floor. Finally, he uses a larger roller for the walls. He covers the blue drywall with the dark blue liquid. The bathroom is now ready for the tiling work. The man starts by spreading tile adhesive on the concrete floor. He uses a metal notch trowel to make even ridges. Next, he begins laying the brown wood-look floor tiles. He wears a green cap and a black t-shirt. He uses green and yellow leveling spacers between the tiles. A black Weber bucket holds the mortar for the floor. He presses each tile firmly into the wet adhesive. A white rubber mallet sits nearby for small adjustments. Later, he gets on his hands and knees to grout. He uses two brown sponges to wipe the tile surface. He keeps a white bucket of water nearby for cleaning. Next, it was time to work on the bathroom walls. He chose large dark gray tiles with a marble finish. Wearing a green beanie and plaid shirt, he started. He laid a tile panel flat on the floor first. He used a notch trowel to spread the adhesive. He made sure the ribbed mortar covered the back. Then, he used 3 orange suction cups to lift it. He pressed the large tile onto the light blue wall. Several electrical wires poked out through cut holes. In the corner, the marble tiles meet a brick pattern. Both styles use the same dark gray for a match. Below the tiles, a green pipe conduit is visible. After the walls were set, he cleaned the floor tiles. These floor tiles have a brown wood look. He used a small orange tool to scrape off grout. He bent over to reach the residue near the wall. Later, he applied sealant to the vertical corner seams. He used a Makita drill to make holes for fixtures. A tape measure and utility knife were clipped to him. Next, he prepared the top of the gray bathroom cabinet. He applied adhesive sealant in a wavy pattern. Finally, he moved under the cabinet to finish the plumbing. He used a small flashlight to see the white pipes. This work ensured every connection was tight and dry. Now it was time to install the bathroom fixtures. He held the black metal faucet over the white countertop. The dark hardware stood out against the marble pattern. After the sink was ready, he moved to the shower. He wore an olive shirt as he carried the glass. The large clear panel was heavy through the narrow door. Finally, he crouched down on the dark bathroom floor. He pressed a white ceiling strip along the glass edge. Next, it was time to build the staircase. He started by framing it over the red brick base. He used a black Makita drill to secure the wood. He knelt on the floor to reach the bottom joints. Then he sat on the floor to mark the treads. He used a ruler and pencil to make lines. The dark brown wood needed to be cut just right. He laid out the wooden balusters on a yellow cloth. Some of the posts were plain and others were turned. He applied wood filler to the joints of the frame. This helped seal gaps in the dark wood. He checked the alignment with a yellow spirit level. He held it against the dark brown newel post. The log wall behind it served as a guide. He stood on the stairs to position the balusters. A thin string line helped him keep everything straight. He lined them up one by one along the staircase. Next, he lifted the heavy wooden handrail into place. He used blue clamps to hold the rail steady. He checked the fit against the top of the balusters. Then he put on a cap and grabbed the drill. He drove screws through the handrail into the post. The drill whirred as he worked near the log wall. Soon, the finished staircase was standing in the room. It reached all the way up to the second floor. He went back to finish the smaller details. He put on a black t-shirt and knelt down. He used a small tool to apply filler. He worked on the base of the newel post. Then he used the drill to secure more pieces. Blue clamps held the wood tight for the screws. He filled the gaps at the base of each baluster. This made the transitions look smooth and finished. He put on a beanie and a camouflage jacket. He crawled into the space underneath the stairs. He wore blue gloves to protect his hands. He reached up to finish the underside of the wood. Finally, he stood up and adjusted his work pants. He looked back at the finished dark brown staircase. The red brick and log walls were now complete. Next, he works on the chimney installation. He wears a green beanie and a striped shirt. He holds a black metal flue pipe adapter. He positions it against the red brick wall. He puts on a camo jacket and uses a screwdriver. He tightens the screws to secure the adapter plate. The black flue pipe is now connected to the brickwork. After the chimney work, he moves into the workshop. Sawdust covers the floor and the Makita miter saw. Bright daylight streams through the window onto the walls. He uses a large yellow planer to process the wood. The machine generates more sawdust as it works. At the workbench, he prepares a wooden panel. He uses Vincenzi PVAD3 wood glue for the assembly. A Makita drill and screws sit nearby. He places a thin wooden strip onto the panel. He puts on black gloves and picks up a hammer. He taps a wooden dowel into the frame. This secures the joint on the panel. Now it's time to work on the kitchen base cabinets. He starts by assembling the dark brown wooden frames. He uses a cordless Makita drill to secure the pieces. A green measuring tape sits on the light floor. Next, he crouches down to install a side panel. The drill light helps him see inside the cabinet. Once the units are ready, he moves them into place. He lifts a heavy dark countertop and sets it on top. He makes small adjustments to get the counter sitting flat. Tools and materials are scattered across the new surface. He uses a spray bottle and a cloth to clean. He uses blue tape to mark an outline on the counter. Then he cuts the rectangular hole with a jigsaw. The jigsaw whirs as it cuts through the gray material. He follows the lines toward the window in the background. After the cut, he installs the dark gray backsplash. He presses the panel firmly against the beige wall. He picks up the dark brown sink and drops it in. He pushes on the edges to make sure it's flat. He checks the black kitchen faucet and the sink installation. He puts on black gloves and a camouflage jacket. He applies a clear finish to dark brown wooden planks. He rubs the sealant evenly across the wood surface. The workbench is covered in various tools and screws. Finally, he picks up a large light brown NDF panel. He places it on top of a dark brown cabinet. He prepares to secure it with a Makita drill. He uses an 18-volt battery labeled Great Ice Wall. Next, the focus shifted to the kitchen cabinets. He started by working on the base of the units. He knelt on the floor to install small black feet. These glides help level the light brown wooden cabinets. He used a Makita cordless drill to install the hinges. A yellow spirit level helped him align the metal hardware. Then he lifted a light brown door to the cabinet. He lined it up with the wooden frame. Below the cabinets, the dark countertop was already installed. He opened the new door to test the hinges. Several white dishes were already stacked on the shelves. Next, he worked on a custom wooden countertop. He wore a brown long-sleeve shirt for the sanding. The orbital sander moved across the large wooden surface. This would feature dark resin accents in the grain. He used a metal tool to pry open a can. The label said it was Alpina furniture finish. He continued sanding the wood on his white workbench. The log walls of the cabin were visible behind him. He wore a beige cap and used a folding ruler. He measured a small gap under a wooden shelf. This space was near the red brick column. To finish, he worked on some electrical wires. He held red and white wires over a soldering iron. The iron sat on a wooden block near his orange toolbox. The next step was to start on the exterior siding. He wore a gray long-sleeve shirt and a green cap. He nailed light-colored wooden planks over the black insulation. This black layer was marked with Coratop roof underlay branding. Next, he climbed a ladder to reach the higher walls. He wore green work pants while securing more wooden planks. The house now had a red tiled roof and chimney. He worked steadily as the cloudy sky stayed gray. He changed into a green sweater and a green beanie. He focused on the wooden trim around the main door. The door had a distinct chevron pattern in light wood. He installed a trim piece across the top of the frame. Then he crouched down to fix trim at the base. He switched to a black t-shirt for the next task. He worked on white wooden trim around the side windows. He nailed the pieces against the brown exterior plank walls. Scaffolding stood nearby against the side of the building. After the trim was done, he painted the chevron door. He used a brush and a can of light brown paint. Finally, he moved to the workbench to cut more wood. He used a Makita jigsaw with an 18-volt battery. He followed his pencil marks to cut the wooden plank. Stacks of extra wood sat ready on the green grass. The next step was preparing the ground for the deck. A man carried a shovel of gravel toward the house foundation. He had already installed a black dimpled membrane against the wall. Next, he unrolled a layer of black geotextile fabric. This fabric sat on top of the gravel and sand. He shoveled more material between the new wooden floor joists. He spread the gravel around the black support posts. He wore a gray t-shirt and dark tents for the job. Once the ground was ready, he checked the wooden beams. He used a yellow spirit level to make sure they were flat. A cordless drill sat nearby on an adjacent beam. Then, he knelt down on the sandy ground. He used an impact driver to secure a metal bracket. This bracket held the beam to the black support post. There was a lot of wood to prepare for the deck. Light-colored planks were stacked neatly on the grass. He spent quite a bit of time sanding the boards. He worked at his workbench in a gray t-shirt. The power sander smoothed out any rough or uneven surfaces. Next, he started applying a brown wood stain. He used a paintbrush to coat the long planks. He kept the boards resting on sturdy sawhorses. Then he switched to using his Makita cordless jigsaw. He needed to cut precise angled shapes for the structure. He held the small wooden pieces against the vertical posts. One of the boards had the word REJS written on it. As the sun went down, he laid the deck boards. The golden light cast long shadows across the wood. He moved the long boards into place one by one. A hammer and a red box sat nearby as he worked. He knelt down to fasten white trim to the corners. He used a cordless drill to keep the trim tight. He went back to the workbench for more wood cuts. The miter saw made quick work of the remaining pieces. Next, he focused on the decorative railing sections. These sections featured a distinct X pattern in the middle. He assembled the weathered gray pieces on the new deck. Then he lifted the freshly painted white sections into place. He leaned over to fit them against the house siding. He used his drill to secure the railing to the posts. He made sure the top rail was level and firm. The white paint looked clean against the brown decking. He worked steadily until the entire railing was finished. The exterior of the house was coming together. The white railings gave the deck a finished look. He stood back to check his progress in the sun. The renovation was finally finished. The brown wooden house now had a new red tiled roof. The porch had white window frames and white railings with an X pattern. New brown wooden steps led up to the finished deck. The home sat among the green grass and trees.